So we was just talking about one of the things we want to do is just celebrate the ADSA and the fact that I personally been coming to these over the last 30 years. I haven't been to all of them. And I find each and every one of them just a little bit special, and some unique things happen at each one. And so I kind of wanted to kind of talk to you guys. Bill, I don't know how many you've been to.
Yeah, all but one.
You and Jeff, all but one.
I missed one since my
During your
master's,
whole,
yep.
Wow. And going back to,
1981 was my first one.
and where was that?
Was in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Wow.
Master student. So
I haven't been to one down there. Yeah.
it was hot. So
Over those years, what's been your favorite?
well, the
And
two
maybe it can be the favorite content. It could be the favorite location.
the two I remember most is the first one. I can tell you what I wore giving a
Is
talk.
that right?
'Cause it's my first talk ever.
What did you
I
wear,
wore
Bill?
brown pants, brown jacket. I talked about
No bow tie?
ammoniated
Not a
corn
bow tie,
silage. So that one I remember, and not because you're here, but probably the most memorable one was in 23. They had a symposium for me, which was quite an honor. And because of a lot of weather and fires and everything else, I was stranded in Newark, New Jersey for 2 nights. And
In Canada.
yeah, I made it to Canada.
In Ottawa, I
eventually.
remember that.
And New Jersey might be the Garden State, but Newark is not the Garden
Newark
City.
is not.
And you drove down, I don't know how long it was, 4 or 5, 6 hours.
I think it was 7 each way.
Picked me up at 1 in the morning at the airport, drove me back. I slept a little while. I'm assuming you slept a few hours, and then we went to the symposium. And that's I never told you how much I appreciate you doing that.
Listen, that was,
it was very
honestly, Bill,
meaningful.
that was a blessing to me, right?
Yeah.
I had Bill Weiss to me for 14 hours in the car, right? And I would not shut up. I was asking
It
him.
was fun.
all kinds of
That one I
questions.
remember. I remember
Yeah.
that
It was
one.
really
till I-
only 7, right?
Huh?
Just seemed like 14.
That's true. Good point. He was only with me one way. Yeah, you're right. We should have had some bourbon. No, that was a special time.
Yep,
No, I appreciate that.
greatly
Yeah, and I
appreciate
appreciate that too. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. What about you, Jeff? What would you say your favorite one was?
Well, I would have to say it was in 2003 when my family came out to Arizona and we all went to the Grand Canyon.
Oh, nice.
And so on. It was really nice. You know, ADSA is very family oriented.
Yeah.
You see a lot of kids here, and my kids are all grown up now, but you know that was really special. I really loved it.
Yeah.
I guess I got maybe my first award there too, so that helped.
Now that always helps.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
Helped
that
to pay
adds
for the
memory.
vacation to bring them out.
So when was that one? I missed that one.
I think it was 2003.
I don't
Okay.
remember, but I remember
Before,
hot.
2004 maybe.
2004.
Yeah.
2004.
Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah.
The Harry Potter book came out. And I remember, you know, my wife driving. I'm, you know, narrating the Harry Potter book, you know, to my sons. So
That's
in
cool.
the back of the car,
Yeah.
driving to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. You know, I've got a great Harry Potter memory. I was living in New Jersey at the time. I just went to work for Balchem. This goes 14 years ago. My family was back in Illinois for a year before we got the house sold. And so I started reading Harry Potter with my oldest son at the time. And that's what we do. We talk every night. We'd get on the phone and talk about what we read on Harry Potter. So we read the books together. It's kind of special that you brought that up, but it's part of my memory bank as well. Jimena, how many have you been to, and what's your favorite? The economics of feeding Reassure precision release choline. Reassure is fed during the transition period, and because it's fed for such a short period of time, it costs just $15 per cow. And yet the benefits will continue to generate income throughout the year. Cows fed Reassure produce 5 pounds more colostrum, which pays for your Reassure investment on the very first day of lactation. Cows fed Reassure also produce 5 pounds more milk per day, every day. That means after the first day, every day is payday. Invest in Reassure during the transition period and recoup your investment on the very first day of lactation. After that, you got it, payday.
Well,
1981, I wasn't born.
Thank
Let's start there. My first one was actually also as a master's student, and it was in 2010, and that was in Denver, Colorado. That was my first one, and again, that was probably the most memorable because for me it was amazing. I was coming from my country, Uruguay. I was a master's student just starting, and to me, seeing all of this was just amazing.
Yeah.
So it was very impressive.
I was talking to Jeff Elliott earlier today, and that one was his favorite as well.
Yeah, I really liked that one, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't miss one. I didn't miss any since, the ones that were virtual, but yeah, I've been going 15 years.
Yeah. José, your favorite?
There's two. One is like Jimena said. My very first one is 1994 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I think it was the last one in the convention, or it was the first one after, or one of the first in a convention center that was not a university type of.
Cornell, 1995.
Yeah, that's memorable. That's memorable with the hot
No
weather.
air conditioning. Yeah.
Exactly. So, because at the time, information didn't move as fast as it is today. So you go to a meeting, there's a lot of novelty, particularly for a master's student. So everything was new to me. So that was memorable. There's another event, another episode that was memorable to me on that one. But the venue, the one that I will never forget, is the one before Jeff's favorite place. It was Quebec City.
That was
That's
fun.
my
That was a
favorite.
fun
That
one.
was-
That was
that
a
was
fun
That's my
one.
favorite.
Yep.
So I really loved that one.
Great venue,
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah,
weather,
that was
amazing
wonderful.
food.
Yep.
Yeah. No,
Being in downtown Quebec in that citadel, and
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
yeah, we should go back. I don't know why.
There was another one in Arizona. I think it was 2012. I think that was my third one, and I remember going to the Grand Canyon too, and I have good
it's
memories
impressive.
of that.
So you weren't at the ADSA, you were at the Grand
No,
Canyon.
actually, I was still back in Uruguay. I was a master's student then, and so we do this big trip, right? So we stay for a few more days and explore, and that
Good.
was really nice coming
Yeah.
from there.
Jose, you mentioned something, right? And some of the early ones, these were actually held on campus,
Yeah.
right? Is that right? And people stayed in dorms
Yeah,
as
I did.
opposed to hotels. And
Yeah.
so,
Quite an experience.
Yeah.
In Corvallis.
In unair
It was
conditioned
like
dorms.
Really hot.
99% humidity, 34 degrees Celsius or 90.
Yeah,
And the dorm had no windows and
no air conditioning.
no fans, no nothing. You would wake up at night, jump in the shower, and then go back to bed, and then jump
Wow.
in the shower.
Yeah,
that
it
was
terrible.
something.
so when did we stop doing that? I've not been the one like that.
Good. You should-
maybe
Yeah,
Guelph or Cornell were the last
Cornell.
one. on
Cornell, I
campus,
think, was
yeah.
the last one. Yep. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
So when was that?
Was it
1995.
95.
95. Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
So we've been doing podcasts at the ADSA now for about, 4 or 5 years, and we try to do these student highlights. And we did one 2 years ago with Mariano.
Yeah.
And she sent me the clip the other day.
I know.
Is that something or what?
It is. I have my phone here.
I know. So at the end, one of my final questions is: so you're getting ready to graduate. What do you think you want to do for the rest of your career? What's your next step? And she looks over and she goes, "Go to work for Balchem?"
Yeah. She could see it.
And I said, "Done deal." Well, she'll start working for Balchem. I think it's in August.
Yeah.
Which
Oh,
is,
wow.
So that's
Good.
really cool.
Good.
But yeah, no, we love highlighting the students, and we're going to do it again this year. And who knows, maybe there's more Balchem employees there, or maybe a
See?
Purina employee. But anyway, it's amazing the quality of the students anymore going through these universities. I was not one of them. When I was doing the shots of whiskey when I was a kid, the kids that go through and do the interviews with us, they're so sharp. It's just really
But you
amazing.
can have both. Yeah, you can enjoy and
I
also
guess so.
learn. Yeah.
Yeah. You
I-
can. I think the social part is so important. Not only
Yeah.
networking and industry connections and this, right? But the social part. Seeing students that were grad students with you years ago, or people from other countries that come. I think it's very important that the social aspect. It's part of science, right?
Yeah.
So I think ADSA, it's about that too.
Yeah.
And when you are a student, I remember when I came to my first ADSA, years before, when I was second year vet student, Bill Thatcher came to where I went to school. And I remember sitting there and just listening to him. Then I came to ADSA and I was brave enough to go there and talk to him. So yeah, you have access to people that you never thought you would talk to them, yeah? So that is wonderful for particularly the young people.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned students. Another story I have is, so Turner Swartz, he's here tonight. And we had him on one of the interviews as well. And now he's a professor. I think there's at least two here tonight that we had in a student spotlight that are now professors for other universities, which is kind of cool.
Can I say something serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't
At the
think
risk
you
of
can.
this maybe being included. I just wanted to piggyback a little bit off of what José said, that, like for us, we've seen a lot of presentations, so it's not so new. But for those students, it's their first one.
Yeah.
And then you get to go back and debrief them and talk, what did you learn the most? And it's just a huge milestone for them. They finally, there's a whole lever that gets tripped that they finally like, okay, now I'm getting what I'm supposed to do. The meetings just do that.
Yeah.
It's not just their presentation, but the others and the whole experience. It's really a big deal.
To add to that, I mean, I spend a lot of time with my students prepping them, right? Like you do a 15-minute talk, but there's a lot of that goes into that. So every time you see a talk, you're like, they spend a lot of time practicing. And
Too much.
Too much, yeah, bro. It's like, go get some work done.
And they have to control the nerves.
Yes, yes.
My very first ADSA was in Minneapolis. And I memorized every single slide.
word.
And it was a 2x2 slides. I go there and I see Don Palmquist, who was merciless. He was merciless at the time. I really enjoyed that because people were not afraid of asking hard questions. Today, there's too much political correctness, yeah?
Yes.
And then there was Dale Bauman, Don Palmquist, what's his name? Did a lot of post-absorptive work, grain processing at North Carolina State. Went to USDA.
Oh,
Yeah, you guys know him.
Woman,
Worked with Chris Reynolds.
Yeah. And he married a person at North Carolina.
Beef cattle work.
Yeah. I know who you mean.
So they are sitting there, so I freeze. My English was still like caveman style. Yeah, like
Nothing went as planned.
I look at the audience and I said,
Huntington.
Gerald Huntington, yes.
Yeah.
I look at the audience and I said, okay, let me start again. And then it's you being a foreigner, different language,
it's a little bit of an extra pressure.
But I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
You mentioned PowerPoint. So did you ever do overhead?
Not during a talk. I've used overhead in class.
2x2 slides.
But 2x2 slides.
2x2 slides, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. We're joined here, Dr. Tom Overton and Dr. Jim Aldrich. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. Just having a discussion about the ADSA. We're here celebrating the ADSA, the people that make it great. You guys are the people that make it great. And we're just kind of having a conversation about some of the favorite ADSAs that we've been to in the past. And, Bill's been to quite a few. One of his favorites was a recent one. But what are some of the best venues that you've been to, Tom? So they were saying earlier that one of the worst was when they had it right on the Cornell campus. Now, were you there for that one?
I was there for that. I was a grad student at Illinois at the time, and I'm pretty sure that was the final nail in the coffin for university-hosted ADSA events. It was about as hot there as it was here, right today, but no air conditioning at all anywhere.
That's what I heard. José was saying he had to get up and take a shower in the middle of the night.
Everywhere was spread out. There was nothing close to each other. people were sleeping in the dorms, non-air conditioned dorms, because I think I had like no hotels at the time.
And student complaints now.
What's that?
The students complain now, and they have.
Yeah. So I could say Cornell again was definitely so. So I don't know if we should take credit for that because we now have nicer facilities that we do these things in. I know we did a couple of meetings after that at university campuses. I think we were at Goeff and Corvallis, but then after that, I think it was Denver in '98.
And Corvallis was just as hot as Cornell was.
Corvallis was just as hot. That was record temps. I remember 100 and something degrees there in Corvallis. So,
and for those that are not watching on video and just listening to the audio, we have Dr. Mark Hanigan just joined us, and that was his baritone voice that you just heard there. So
kicking Bill out.
We've replaced Bill with Dr. Mark Hanigan. Welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming by and spend some time with us. We're just talking about some of our favorite ADSA events in the past, looking to honor and celebrate the ADSA and all that it does for the dairy industry tonight. So appreciate you joining us, Mark.
Thank you.
You know, I think one of the things, so I have a new PhD student this time, Kylie Conine, did her undergrad at Wisconsin-Madison. And we talked about, this is her first one, right? And I remember going to my first one and just being just a sponge, right, relative to these things. And so, this is her year to.
Then?
What's that? I was as a grad student, right? And I actually think my first one was at The Ohio State University.
I have not been to one at The Ohio State. I need to go. We need to go there.
Yeah, and so you remember those, right? Because and you meet people that you've only read their papers, right? Stuff like that, and that's, you still, and I still remember had a grad student a couple of years ago working on calcium metabolism, or a few years ago, and meeting José Goeff at ADSA, right? So I mean, just people that you read about, things like that. I think those make a lot of impression on students, and it is still kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. So what's your favorite?
Oh boy.
And that could be anything, right? It could be the venue. It could be the city. It could be you have a favorite story there, and I'd love to hear your favorite stories.
Yeah, I think they're all. I don't know. They're all a little different, right? And so that may just be I've been to too many, right? I'm having trouble pulling out, what the favorite might be. But again, I think they're all a little different. I think there are times when we get to spend time with our students, our research groups, maybe a little differently than we do when we're back home. We get to obviously interact with colleagues like you and Mark and Jimena and Jim. Looking around the room here, right? Once again, you guys have kind of the who's who. Yeah, right? You've got a lot of awesome scientists, people in the room, all just interacting here in this informal setting tonight. So it's really great. So thank you and Balchem for doing it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And you say it's the who's who and it's the future who's who, right?
It is.
I mean, we were having a discussion about that. Some folks that's gone ahead, and now our professors that were students here just not so many years ago. So it's really cool to watch and really, really cool to be a part of it. Jim, welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks. Good to see you.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, actually, my favorite memories were not the academic part. They used to have a golf tournament.
Okay.
At most ADSAs. I don't know when that ended, but my good friend, Dr. Chris Kennelly, who just recently retired in Cargill, he and I usually paired up with a couple other people, and we might have come in second or third, and so we were both students of Dr. Larry Muller at Penn State, and because we competed reasonably well, they accused us of really not doing much when we were in grad school, but Penn State had two really nice courses, and we did take advantage of that with Dr. Mike Lorimore also, by the way. He's with, so that's one of my really good memories. Kind of wish they would resurrect that activity. But the best venue that I remember is Montreal.
Okay.
It just seemed like, certain setups where you're trying to jump from session to session to see certain topics, and you'd miss them because you had to walk half a mile to the other side of the convention center to find them. Montreal seemed to be just set up beautiful, and plus, I spent a year at McGill University in Montreal.
Okay.
A long time ago, so I got to revisit the city.
Yeah, nice. Canada's, it's kind of a theme so far. So we've had one of the favorites was now Montreal. We had Quebec City. which was my favorite.
That was
I
a great
gave
one.
that
Quebec City was a wonderful
Yeah.
place.
beautiful.
That was good, too.
It's beautiful, just a beautiful week. What 98 degrees out there.
Yeah, so I think the other thing that happens at ADSA meetings is I'm going back to my grad school days again, right, is you have these formative moments in your career, right, these moments that make you kind of, and mine happened to be with somebody near and dear to you, Dr. Rick Grummer.
Oh, sure.
And when Rick was at Wisconsin-Madison, I was in graduate school working with Jim Drakely, and we were in a bar. It may have actually been in Oregon, I'm not sure. It might have been, it might have been Oregon. And you know, Jim introduced me to Rick. I think I'd met Rick before, right? But Jim introduced me, and then, you know, Rick asked me what I was working on. And of course, I launch into the nuts and bolts of what I was doing, right? And he goes, "Well, hasn't that been done before?" And then he goes, "Well, what was your hypothesis?" And that was a real moment for me, because I realized I had to start with kind of the big picture when I talked about what I did, not just simply drill into the weeds. And so, you know, we've laughed about that since that time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those moments where, yeah, you kind of remember, and every now and then I'll catch one of my students kind of digging into diving into the weeds, and it's like,
What's your hypothesis?
Yeah, time. I don't do it quite like that, but I do. All right, let's back up here.
Yeah.
And talk about it. But yeah, we have those moments when we meet those that we mostly knew through their work.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of great ones. Yeah, a lot of great ones here tonight. Mark, any favorite stories you have?
I've got a ton of them.
Well, got any you can tell?
Well, I'll have to choose then. The first one I went to was in Davis, and I was an undergrad senior, and I was looking at it to go to school there, which is where I did end up going to school. And probably the reason I did is, you know, my wife and I both grew up in Iowa, okay? Davis doesn't look anything like Iowa. I mean, there was all this fresh fruit, and it was beautiful weather, and we got done with the end of the meetings, and so I sort of interviewed with Lee Baldwin, and he goes, I don't really want to stick around here. Let's go over to my house to the pool. Go over to the pool, and there's like a whole bunch of people, you know, including David Beaver and Maggie Gill and a whole bunch of these international scientists, you know, all drinking and having a good time. I was like, yeah, I think I do want to go here.
Nice. So have any of you guys had the bourbons over there yet? Done
yet.
the tasting? You've done it.
Well, one.
You just had the one? Okay.
You're just starting.
we did the tasting just a little while ago, and so yeah, I was just kind of curious if you guys had a favorite yet. What do you got there, Jim?
Rye.
That's Angel.
Yeah.
Angel
Envy at Rye.
Yeah.
That's
kind of sweet, kind of an after
it's
dinner
pretty
kind
nice.
of a bourbon. Yeah. Very nice. Well, good. We've just been joined by Martin Bengtsson. Martin, maybe I should let you tell you about yourself, but he's the CFO of Balchem. So, guys, we've got the CFO of Balchem. I want some really tough questions for him, if you don't mind. So, Martin, just tell us a little bit about yourself. This is your first ADSA, right?
It is my first ADSA. I've been the CFO for the company for the last 6 or 7 years. So I've recognized your names, but more from the perspective of supporting either your university or the studies and the research you're doing. And I hear our animal team talking about you guys. So I've followed you from afar for a number of years. And then for the last year, I was moved in to also support the animal division in terms of just making sure we're investing enough, that we're hiring enough people in the right areas.
No, we're underpricing, and we need more. And
it's such a fascinating space. So I'm not an animal background person. I'm a typical economics, finance, growing up in Europe, coming over to the U.S. for university, getting some of that good education that you have over here, and then staying here, sort of the land of opportunities type of story. But it's such a fascinating space, the animal space, because there's so much room for science. And when you look across, I mean, there's always room for science, but this is a space where, particularly on the dairy side, right, where there's so much further penetration, everyone I talk to has a slightly different view of what's the right way, what's the wrong way, what should come next, what do you do, and that too tells me that there's a lot more work to do to figure out the facts. If everyone knew exactly all the facts, it would be a pretty good alignment around what works, what doesn't, how does it work, what should you do, etc. So I find that an interesting space to invest as a company and allocate resources, do resource, support you guys. And then if you take a step back as a company, we're about 60% human nutrition as a company, and then we have animal nutrition as the second largest segment of Balchem. And our mantra is really to make the world a healthier place, right? And make it more sustainable, make it more efficient. And a lot of the work you guys do fits so well into that, of just making it more efficient, more sustainable. How do we continue to feed the world with what we have? We're not going to have more land. You know, we're not going to have necessarily more cows out there. Just need them to be really productive, really efficient. And how do you do that, right? And that's sort of where we're putting our money and our resources behind. So as a CFO, it's a really fascinating space. And I learned from, you know, the people around me. And I'm not an expert. I just ask a lot of questions and try to apply some common sense to what we do next. So that's kind of a little bit my background. And
well, that's great, right? And you bring fresh eyes, fresh perspective, right? Things like that. You know, you can probably sense this is a pretty small community at the end of the day, right? The dairy science community is not a big community, and certainly Balchem's been engaged for a long time. You know, not just on the research, right, but all these pubcasts and podcasts and activities and things like that. So always trying to have some presence out there, which is great.
It is. And
I don't know who came up with these podcasts for Balchem, but they've been a tremendous hit, you know, and you got a library now of
Probably somebody very smart.
Remember that podcast that Tom did, you know, when he talked about transition cows? Let's go back and look at that, because he was mentioning certain things that were, you know, of interest to us. So it's really been great for the industry.
Yeah.
I think further education, and Balchem is also very much involved in research, right?
Yeah.
Not just product testing, but the metabolism of choline and methionine, and you know, helping us understand the whole background, and not just, you know, feed choline for ketosis, basically. You know, it's you've gone beyond that.
And what would you guys like to see a company like Balchem do more of? I mean, are there things that immediately come to mind where you think we could have a bigger impact in the industry and be more helpful?
Well, you know, I think just following up on Jim's comments, I mean, you have invested in some basic idea, you know, not products, but you know, basic science stuff. I mean, you've invested in our group for quite a number of years, and that leads to more new knowledge, right? If you don't, at some point you run out of things to leverage in the marketplace. You can't like pick up a piece of knowledge that's already there and then get it to the market if you're already tapped everything out. And so I think that's probably the horizon is, okay, there's still information left on the table that you could probably take and market, but there's also going to have more investment in basic research as well.
Balchem used to do it. I'm not sure if you guys do it anymore. More of a open solicitation of propose. You know, and that would be maybe a way for you to generate, or you know, figure out what the ideas are that are out there, right? And then where you might want to invest. I don't recall seeing that here in the.
We haven't. I think we only did that 2 or 3 years, but that was a good program, and we got some good research started out of that.
Yeah.
We should revisit that again.
Yeah. Because that may bring it a little more cutting edge on what's on the horizon and what you guys are thinking about for the future.
Well, and you can still target them, you know, and say, okay, it has to be in this area, you know, and open it up and see who has the best idea.
Yeah. I like that idea.
Yeah, we did. It was a grant that we put out there, and I forget how many we got. We got a lot of research ideas back in, and some that we still need to do. Honestly, I mean, there's just so many good ones.
Yeah.
In all areas that would impact us. So that'd be a good idea.
The advantage of that too is that, you know, of course the environment is very unstable at the moment, but generally we can take and, you know, we can leverage that. You know, we get preliminary data, get a USDA grant, drive it, you know, so you get a doubling or a tripling or maybe a quadrupling of your money in that area. Yeah. Again, I can't say that's going to happen the next year or two.
Yeah. That being said, though, I mean, Balchem, as you know, is more in it for the long term, right? We're not a company that's in and out and back and forth. We're sort of in it for the long term. I mean, we've been around for over 50 years. The company was founded around microencapsulation. That was actually the foundation of the company going back. So we've always been here. We're still here, and we're still being, you know, successful in what we do. So I think we can almost assume that we will be here for the next 20, 30, 50 years. So we can afford to take a little bit more of a long-term perspective as some of these other things.
Well, and certainly you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, but you know, one egg in the high-risk basket and a couple in the middle. And,
yeah.
You know,
yeah. Martin, one of the questions we've been asking everybody is what is you're expecting to get out of this year's ADSA, and what are you looking forward to most?
Well, for me personally, it's actually meeting a lot of the people. Since I have less experience in this industry than you have, and I don't know all the players, and I haven't really had a chance to meet them and hear what they're about and so on. So for me personally, that's a big thing coming here. It's really also hearing about where the science is at and what's new and upcoming. I'm more looking forward than the past, right? So I'm trying to pick up on the ideas and what's coming next, and how do we get involved in that, and how do we support that, and how do we help, ourselves and the industry being successful. So I'm trying to pick up what's next. I was questioning some folks up here around sort of, well, what would you really like to feed, but you're not feeding it today because it's either not really available, or it's too expensive, or you sort of have this feeling that I'd love to do it if I could. It's just not really commercially available at the moment. And ideas like that, so that we know also where to put some of our internal R&D money, of what to be ready for. So looking for ideas, essentially, of what's next.
Any ideas?
well, I mean, you've put quite a bit of money into our group, and part of that's been directed at testing and screening for your products, but also you all the way along from the very beginning we said, okay, we need amino acid X protected because we need to do a big enough trial and we can't infuse all this dang stuff. And you've always been willing to come forward and do that. And I know that has a cost for you that we don't see directly, And so, I think those kind of projects, make a big impact because, I can only do like 6 or 8 cows infusions, okay? I can't do all 10 amino acids and figure them all out that way. I have to have some way to do it easier and more rapidly. And your guys' effort has, provided that for us.
Absolutely. And I know you have some important work coming up actually as well.
We always would tell you we have important work. So.
Yeah.
We'll wait till next year. We'll revisit that next year, and then you can see how important it was.
I will tell you, as a finance background, there is usually a right or a wrong answer to any question if you come from a finance background, because it tends to be math, right? And there's a right and there's a wrong, and you can usually measure it, calculate it, and there's an answer. And things are a little different in this world, because sometimes just the ability to truly measure the results is so challenging, right? And there's so many variables of how do you control all the variables so that you know when you change one, what was the real impact. And obviously we're trying to do some of that work here coming up. And for someone like me, that can be a bit frustrating, because you sort of want to control the variables. That's how you operated in your background, and here you can't do that, so you try to just eliminate as many as you can and support work that makes it more factual and more measurable, because we sort of do think that if we could properly measure things, then we could do better work, come out with better products, and be more successful. So that's a little bit the background.
That's a challenge in animal science. I mean, we still largely use a lot of the old techniques that we used to use. We've got all these omics things that we're still trying to figure out how do we sort through all of this stuff, and see if it makes sense. But no one really wants to fund development of techniques. It's laborious, it's time-consuming, it's expensive, and you get done, you don't really have this sexy paper to go publish. Okay, we had a meeting today where we were sort of utilizing Jim France, and he was a mathematician, so he did a lot of stuff on the modeling side that was technique development. So I covered he did 235 publications, so I mean we got a lot. But I had the isotope stuff, and he had 30 publications. 20 of them were technique developments. None of them had more than 20 citations. But any of those that got picked up and used by a scientist, they would have 500 or 600, okay? And so that's the problem is, nobody really wants to do the technique development. We desperately need some new ways of measuring some of these metabolites and fluxes and things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, if you want data that has plus or minus 25% air, no problem. We can generate that.
Well, not having the right assays leads you to wrong conclusions, right? It's like having
miss stuff. You know
having a map, wanting to navigate New York and having a map of Philadelphia. It's giving you the wrong answer. It's going to lead you astray. So, good conversations. Dr. Turner Swartz is joining us, as is Dr. Barry Bradford. Guys, welcome. We're celebrating the ADSA here at the Bourbon and Brainiacs. So it looks like we got a full house out there.
You ran out of Brainiacs.
Plenty of Brainiacs. I'm just worried about the bourbon. So have you guys had the bourbon yet?
Nope. I started with an old-fashioned.
Okay, that's not a bad start.
Work up to straight bourbon.
It wasn't a brandy old-fashioned then.
No, I think they used Old Forester.
Okay.
So just, you don't want to take $200 bourbon to mix in an old-fashioned.
I don't know if I've ever had an old-fashioned, but a lot of the people that come on the podcast, that's what they end up having. So, Turner, what do you have in there?
Oh, this is just rum and Coke.
Rum and Coke. Rum. You're a bourbon and Brainiacs.
It's like that much rum and that much Coke.
We should have had
Turner thinks for himself.
We should have rules or something.
He thinks he's in the Caribbean.
Talking a lot about, what makes the ADSA special for each of you guys, and what some favorite stories and those kinds of things. Turner, I know when I first met you, you were a student here, and now you're a professor. And so do you have a favorite ADSA that you've been to?
Well, my first ADSA would have been in 2009, but my favorite would probably be 2017. I was a PhD student at Virginia Tech, and I was coaching our quiz bowl team, and they actually won the contest. So that probably would have been my favorite, particularly because I was on the quiz bowl team as an undergrad, and we won the contest, and then I got to beat my alma mater.
Okay. Now, it seems like Virginia Tech always does well in those contests, do they not? Like, I'm thinking of the Dairy Challenge and those. Do they do well?
We do okay. We can't beat Cornell very often. I don't know what the problem is, but...
Tom, are you involved in coaching those?
I am not. I have nothing to do with it, so...
I think that on Dairy Challenge, they've had a woman that's more of an economist, and now we have the same, and I think we're actually doing better, I guess.
Yeah, I think that makes a big difference, right? They're looking at that.
Everyone does all the other stuff. If whoever can do the economics correctly, that's the team that wins.
Yeah, it kind of depends on who the judges are, right? If you got a bunch of industry folks, they want to see the economics. So, Barry, how many ADSAs have you been to?
Probably 22 or 23, something like that. I came in 2001 for the first time as an undergrad.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Where was your first one?
Indianapolis.
Okay.
Yep.
That's where I met Tom Overton at Indy.
Okay.
We've told that story a couple times. The legend grows each time. The home run gets hit farther, Tom.
As the bourbon glass gets fuller, right?
Do they still play softball at these things? I see they had a fun run.
I don't think so.
But
yeah, the fun run went away for a while, but somebody resurrected it the last few years, which is good. But no, I haven't. I don't think I've ever heard of a softball thing at these.
Yeah,
I think it was when it was on campuses.
Okay. Yeah, well, tell them about the home run you hit, Tom.
No, that was one and done. About the only one in my life.
He strutted around the bases. They should have seen.
I don't think there's any strutting involved. Right? More like a panicked dash.
No, that was good. I remember those days. Barry, do you have a favorite ADSA you've been to?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was maybe 2005 or 6, but it was in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And I don't know why it was my favorite, other than I have a memory of one of the nights that week. The weather was just perfect. We were a little farther north. It was a good week. And we found this bar that had lawn bowling on the roof. And we did that for like 2 or 3 hours.
I was at that one.
You get to really know people, and it's a lot of fun. You're outdoors. So that was one of my favorite memories. Yeah, with Masahito Oba and Greg Penner and some other good people. Yeah.
Cool. No, I remember that one. I was at that one. I didn't remember it was in Minneapolis.
So if we loop back to the comments that were being made before by Tom, it was the same for me. When you go to meetings, you see all these big name people, and that you've been reading their papers, and all of a sudden you see, okay, yeah, they're there, And so I remember it was probably about 10 or 15 years ago. I started thinking, where's all the big name people at? Okay, where are they at? It might have been Firkins that was with me. He goes, well, they all retired. It's like, are people looking at us like we're the big names now? It's like,
I think we're going through a phase like that now, right? A lot of the big names recently retired, getting ready to
There's
retire.
new ones coming.
Yeah, no, there are some great new ones coming.
Barry's not ready to retire yet.
No, he's one of the up-and-comers.
Some days I feel ready.
Him and Tom.
No.
Oh, that means you got 20 years yet.
Turner's the up-and-comer sitting here, so.
I can remember when I saw Barry for the first time, and I was like, I want to work for that guy, and I regret it ever since.
The feeling's mutual. No, I remember though, like when I came as an undergrad and I was working in Don Beit's lab, and I just remember I wasn't like around him all the time, but when I was, it was like, man, like every person he walks past, he's talking to. This is wild, and it's like, that would never be me. And now it's kind of, and that's what I really enjoy the most. Like, of course, you learn some new things, and of course, I enjoy that. But especially with podcasts and stuff now, and the many different ways to get information. It's not as exclusive a way to learn what's going on as it used to be, right? But it's the people still matters a lot, right? And when you get into science, you can think this is all very empirical. This is, it's just about the data. It's not. And I say that in a positive way, right? It's still about the people and the relationships, and that's how you come up with new ideas, interacting with people and collaborating.
Yeah. We're going to be doing a legacy series with Don Beitz this week.
Good.
He's there. There's a symposia for him, and then we're going to get the whole group together and have a discussion. So, that'll be a lot of fun. I don't know that I've met him, but he's another one of those names.
You wouldn't forget him if you met him.
Yeah.
Is that right?
He doesn't do like a lot of industry conference speaking. I mean, his research was so broad. He'd do like rabbit cholesterol studies, and so he wasn't as applied as some people. But he's a great guy.
Yeah, good deal. So, anything that you guys are looking forward to at this coming conference that you've got kind of starred that you're going to go to?
Well, one thing that I think is kind of neat is I know the journal specifically put together a special issue that came out in January, and that they were planning to collaborate with the meeting from the beginning. So they've got I don't think they've ever done this before, but there's a whole special issue of JDS on feed additives for methane inhibition, and then they're having a symposium linked to that issue.
Okay.
Which is kind of neat. So people had the time to already think through really carefully their topic, and they had their paper written probably a year ago.
Okay.
And now they're going to come talk about it. So I think that'll be kind of neat. And that's not my main forte, but I'm going to try to see some of that, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of money being spent on methane mitigation these days. A lot of papers on that. So I think we're gonna get a couple podcasts done on those as well. Yeah. Tom, anything you're looking forward to?
I think for me it's about younger researchers, their groups, things like that. I mean, Turner is one of those. What he and his group are up to. Jackie Borman from Purdue. I look at her across the room right here. So it's always really interesting for me to get a sense for what they're thinking and they're up to with their groups.
Yeah. Yep. I just remember what I was going to ask you guys before. Anybody here logged some time at Wisconsin? No, I should have got it with when Jimena was here. One of the things is the Wisconsin breakfast, and I kind of want to know what the history of that thing is. So we'll have to wait until we get somebody from Wisconsin here.
Well, I'm not from Wisconsin, but I know people from Wisconsin, right? So
he might have attended one or two of these.
Yeah, one or two. It's, it was always, again, from my recollection anyway, and this was something where, of course, I had some fellow grad students who were from Wisconsin and did their undergrads at Wisconsin or other things there, and so, I got pulled into that, and so, back in the day, it was, people like Grummer and Norm Montano and Randy Shaver, they would basically find a bar, and it was all very kind of word of mouth that, hey, the Wisconsin breakfast is going to be, and everybody was always like, hey, where's breakfast going to be this year? And
it was almost like a speakeasy. You had to know somebody that
something
knows
like
somebody.
That. Yeah.
And at one point, you couldn't even text it to people, right?
Yeah,
you had to actually talk to them.
The barrier of entry was pretty low, right? So as long as you knew where it was, you
well, that was a big barrier,
So But and again, I think it's a little more formalized now and things like that. But again, it's still an interesting place that kind of brings people together, just like your event does here tonight.
So they stayed up for breakfast. Is that the deal?
That was my understanding, is that it went until breakfast, and therefore that was why it was called the Wisconsin breakfast.
There was a lot of bleary-eyed people the next morning.
Yeah. That didn't show up to the conference.
They were late, and they didn't look very good.
Yeah.
Very well. Adam, good to see you, sir. Welcome to the Real Science Exchange, the Bourbon and Brainiac style, huh?
Oh, the bourbon at least. So,
yeah. Have you had some bourbon so far?
Yep, got an old-fashioned right now.
You got an old-fashioned. Now, have you had a chance to taste all three of them over there?
That's next on the list.
That's next on the list. All right. Should have gotten you after that. You might have been a little more talkative.
Oh, yeah. It tends to happen that way. I'm shy and reserved normally.
So what's in your old fashioned? Which one?
I don't know. The guy made it for me, and I gave him the drinks ticket. So it's very nice. Very nice.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Dr. Jeff Dahl is going to be joining us here. Welcome. So it's cooler here than Florida.
It is actually warmer here than Florida. We just looked at it a couple of hours ago, and I think it was 3 or 4 degrees warmer here.
Yeah,
it's
even hot out there.
And even on the adjustment for humidity, it was 3 or 4 degrees worse here.
Yeah,
which is unusual.
Yeah.
Well, it's 90s in England right now. There's a heat wave there.
Is that right? Wow. No, I've been looking for some heat. I didn't want it quite this hot, but in the Pocono Mountains, we've still been in the 30s as early as 2 weeks ago.
Sheesh.
Yeah. High 30s, but still, that's just cold. That's just wrong. And I've been wanting spring, and well, I miss spring now.
Well,
summer.
You got it now, buddy.
We're having a conversation today to just kind of celebrate the ADSA, all that it means to us, what has it meant to us, what's the future look like, and so you and Adam are kind of the two newcomers to the forum here. Tell us about maybe some of your favorite ADSAs that you've been to. Got any favorite stories? Good, funny stories on maybe somebody that's here at the event?
Not here. My very first ADSA was 2002 in Quebec.
Okay.
It's probably one of my favorite. And
that's one of your first?
That was my first time to the US and Canada. So. But my friend George Mann and I were coming over for the conference, and we worked out that if we shared at the Chateau de Frontenac, it would be about the same cost as if we had our own rooms at the conference hotel. So we lived it up that week, and it was a beautiful place.
Yeah, that's where we stayed as well.
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah. It was
I think that's one of the
fun.
favorites.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we know anybody that's on the committee? Maybe we can get back there sometime.
I think they looked at it when we looked at Ottawa. Yeah, you'd have to talk to the board.
Yeah.
Quebec, the limitation there was that it was a little more difficult to get to.
Yeah.
And even Ottawa. Some people might have PTSD about travel. So
we had a discussion with Bill Weiss about that. He was stuck in Newark. What are you looking forward to at this conference?
Catching up with people mostly.
Yeah.
People I've not seen for a while, so
everybody's here. I think everybody's here tonight.
Yeah, no, you got a good turnout. It's a great place.
It's a great crowd.
What about the new Applied Nutrition Day? I mean, we should talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that Mike Vanderhaar spearheaded as president this year, hoping to try and get more applied or field nutritionists to come in. So they designed 2 sessions. The first session tomorrow morning's on High Lake soybeans that we just spoke about, and I think we'll do a podcast soon about. So they got 3 or 4 speakers coming into that, and then tomorrow afternoon it's one focused on milk fat on the applied side. So I'm speaking, and Van Amberg is speaking as well, and then Normand Saint-Pierre is doing more of an economic outlook. So it'll be a lot of fun with Normand there as well. So,
do you have a feeling? Do we know if we've gotten more consulting nutritionists to come in for that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to ask Mike that. So I don't know, but I mean, it should be. I think it should be a fun session.
Yeah.
Either way. So there's a lot of good posters tomorrow morning. There's course, I look at certain ones and other people look at other sessions, right? So,
yeah.
But that I think that applied session, hopefully that is something that can continue.
I think it's one of those things, right? You got to continue to do it for a while so that just kind of gets a repetition. People know it's going to happen. They start looking forward to it and to come, because that's one of the things we've noticed. I mean, this is a great forum for the academic world, but we don't get a lot of those practicing nutritionists that they really need to be here, to be real honest with you, but it just doesn't seem like they want to spend time here.
Well, you see a lot of the new ideas, new insights a couple years earlier than, or maybe longer sometimes.
Particularly the consulting groups, if they have a couple people designated as the technical resource people, for sure they should be here, right? The ROA on that's clear, I think. Yeah.
It's also interesting, I would say that many of the grad students who are here tonight, right, are going to be moving into some of those positions, working with some of those groups and those companies. And so why is it that there would be a drop-off? Right? I think they find great value in coming to these meetings, so maybe that's something that we need to do more of now, is emphasizing sort of that continuing education, and it's not just about, getting CEUs from some organization, but it's about coming back and seeing where things are going from a scientific perspective and how that might fit into your portfolio.
And I think the other side of that is they might give us ideas to look at as well. I mean, that's some of the most fun things I've done the last few years have been questions coming straight from the field, and that we didn't have answers for. So,
Well, listen, this has been enjoyable. This has been a lot of fun. I need some more bourbon, so I'm going to call. It's not going to be last call. It's going to be a bourbon call. And so I want to thank you guys for joining us here tonight. It's been a lot of fun. Got a bunch of great people join us here. Hope you guys enjoyed it out there, because I certainly have. I hope you learned something. I hope you had some fun, and I hope to see you next time here at the Real Science Exchange, where it's always happy hour and you're always among friends.
We'd love to hear your comments or ideas for topics and guests, so please reach out via email at anh.marketing@balchem.com with any suggestions, and we'll work hard to add them to the schedule. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating on your way out. You can request your Real Science Exchange t-shirt in just a few easy steps. Just like or subscribe to the Real Science Exchange and send us a screenshot along with your address and t-shirt size to anh.marketing@balchem.com. Balchem's Real Science Lecture Series of webinars takes place on the first Tuesday of every month, with the top research and nutrition topics that will impact your business. We also include small ruminant, monogastric, and companion animal-focused topics throughout the year. Visit balchem.com/realscience to see the upcoming topics and to register for future webinars. You can also access past webinars and search for the topics most important to you.